Might as well ask you about tight ends right away. How much of a dimension, or how much, I guess, flexibility and creativity are you able to play with when you've got probably four guys you feel you can deploy out on the field, and they can stretch it, they can block it, confuse defenses, that type of stuff?
Yeah, it gives you quite a bit of flexibility. More than anything, I think those guys are some of our most trusted guys, and we do a lot with those guys in protections, and we could be really multiple with how we want to line up and take some heat off of some other people, I think, with those guys and be able to do some different stuff. And I'm a little biased, obviously, because I'm in that room and I know those guys, I know what they're about, but I think more than anything, like, those guys are some of the most trusted people we have on the offense to go do whatever they get asked to do, and they're some of the most selfless people we have in the team.
Coach Campbell has told us before that he knew what kind of quarterback he had in Rocco when he decided to keep playing in Ohio when he was puking his guts out. What kind of moment was that like for you in terms of seeing him obviously in a different spot? And is there a moment for you where you realized this guy not only has toughness, but he's got the ability to be what he's become?
Yeah, I think for us as coaches and teammates, like, you see it all day, every day. So when he goes out and he has a really good day, even in the game, I didn't realize that we only had the one completion at the time until afterwards, which it was at a tight end, and it was not a very good route. So I told Rocco it was our fault that we didn't have 20 for 20 or whatever he was. But I can't say enough about how hard the kid works and how much the details and the margins mean to that guy, how much the community means to that guy, how much his teammates mean to that guy. So he's one of the most selfless people that we've ever had here, and he wants to win for everybody besides himself, ironically, and I think that's what makes him really special in a time in college football where that doesn't happen very much, but he's incredible. I'm going to miss that guy a lot when I don't get to see him every day.
Coach, what's the challenge of preparing for an Iowa defense that hasn't really changed much in your time here, but they just do it really, really well?
Yeah, I think the culture of that defense and that team speaks for itself. The physicality, the nastiness that those guys play with, like, you got to bring your lunch pail to that game, and you look at last year, how much of a struggle it was for us in the second half. Like, they're going to make you earn everything. They're not going to give you anything. And some of the best offenses, you watch Ohio State win the national championship last year, and it was 0-0 in the second quarter of that game. And it's hard to move the football. They make it really tough, and they suffocate you from all angles. So it's a culture war as much as it is anything. It's a battle of toughness. It's a battle of grit. And most of the time it's going to come down to a play here and a play there, and you don't know which one it is. And that's what makes it so awesome and so scary at the same time.
Where does that pop pass, where the tight end kind of blocks and then releases, rank among your favorite plays?
The one from Ireland, it's up there. I think the one that Gabe caught against Utah last year where Carson threw it to him is a little bit higher, but I love a tight end dump as much as anything. Like, on my tombstone, I want there to be just a reel of tight end dumps. Ours and other people's, they're my favorite.
Both of those plays, I think, came at kind of the end of the game in a critical sequence. Do you find yourself having to hold on to it and keeping those in your back pocket for one of those big moments?
Yeah, kind of. Like, we have them, and a little bit of it is a feel thing, and some of it is you want to make sure that they're especially the first game of the season, you don't know exactly what looks you're going to see, especially in that K-State game when they played a different defense this year than last year. So you plan some stuff to see if they're going to line up how you thought, and then that look, credit to Sam Steenbuckner and Landry and Klain and those guys too. They handle our short yards and goal line, but it was the same look that we had. So, and like I was saying earlier, like, who do we trust the most in the game? Gabe Burkle's one of the most trusted people, and I feel like between Rocco and Gabe, if he puts the ball in the vicinity, something good's going to happen, and let your guys go make plays, and they did. But that play's high on my list.
And last one on that from me, how much ability does it take a tight end to have for him to be able to block, successfully for a little bit, to have that threat, and then to be able to go out and release for a pass?
I think ability, sure, but you got to have, like, heart beyond measure and grit beyond measure and toughness beyond measure, because, like, that route's not one like you just have a bunch of, like, drill tape of or other cut-ups of special routes. Like, there's feel to it, and there's timing, and it's going to be like a jump ball, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's hard to replicate. Even like the Utah one last year, we didn't complete it in practice, and you're kind of just hoping that it works and your guys can go make a play, and they did, and Gabe did in that moment. So it's the want to more than anything, I think, from more so than the ability.
Through 2 weeks so far, how would you evaluate your team's offense performance so far? What do you like and don't like?
Yeah, I think I'm still really sour and mad at myself for just the first fumble against Kansas State. Happy with like the operation through the first 2 weeks, but you're always like hunting for the margins of what you can do better and how you can execute better, how you can get other people involved more. So not where we need to be, by any means, but I still think when you have a guy like we have at quarterback, you're always, you feel like you'll have a chance, and we got a lot of little things to work on. We got to run the football a lot better. We got to have a better start to running the ball. I challenged those front seven guys really after last game of us being able to have a better start in the run game, because you're not going to be able to, get chunk plays like that, especially in a game like this week. So we're going to have to be better at the line of scrimmage between the tight ends and the O-line at running the football. And I think when you look at us the last 2 years there, we aren't where we need to be. We're better, but we got to be better at running the football. So we have a lot of ground to make up there.
Similar to that, I mean, you've been very candid and honest with yourself and us, just how you feel about your ability as a play caller. Now in year two, how do you feel so far, and what were some of the biggest things that you incorporated from last year into this year?
I think just probably the biggest thing from last year to this year is that I wish I would have known maybe is just to be bold and to roll the dice a little bit. And it's really hard to like methodically move the football on people. And there were times last year where I tried to do that and it stalled our offense out. Like, we have a really good quarterback and some good people, so let those guys go make plays for you. And I probably just being conservative and nervous early last year is what I wish I could change. But we have such a good offensive staff here, and we're so trusted. When someone, makes a mistake or suggests something and it works or doesn't work, we're able to, make good adjustments. So I'm not as worried about that stuff. I'm not afraid to fail as much as I was early last year, and I was.
Hey, Coach, where do you feel like your momentum is at right now?
Yeah, I think we have the ball rolling, but for us, like, we try to start back from scratch each week and prepare like we're playing the top team in the country every single week. It doesn't matter if it's Miami or Kansas State or South Dakota. Like, I've been here for games with Coach Campbell where we've lost to Northern Iowa, where we've lost to Ohio, where we've beat Oklahoma and top 5 teams. Like, you have to bring your A game every single week, and you have to start back at the drawing board every single week. And as soon as you think you have momentum, it's gone, and the game can change really fast. So you got to be ready for any and everything at all times. But for us, like, how can we build off what we did well, and then how can we stress the areas that we're not doing well, because the team that we're going to play this week is going to expose every weakness that we have if we don't do it right now. So you don't get complacent. You don't tap yourself on the back. Like, you keep your foot on the gas pedal as much as you can until the season's over.
What do you do in practice to mimic Iowa's big physical defense?
Yeah, we get a lot of our guys in our – Coach Campbell runs the defense, and he brings some of the guys in our starters and our second-string guys over. And as much as we tell those guys to replicate the snap count, they're going to try to get us to jump off sides. They're going to shift stem and yell, have those guys do it, reward them when they get our guys to jump off sides, make it crazy. We listen to music, crazy music the whole time, and try to just make it chaos. And as many ways as we can challenge Rocco and challenge our offense and challenge myself, and just remind those guys, like, what's at stake at all times. But it's always a challenge. Every single rep, it's an important one, and we don't let any go to waste.
Hi, Coach. You've talked about the tight ends quite a bit. Gabe Burkle in the first half of last season wasn't a big emphasis in the passing game, turned into one after Ben Bramer's injury. He seems to be a big influence in the receiving game this year for you guys. What has allowed him to evolve into a more commonly used pass-catching target for you?
Yeah, I think, and I keep circling, it's like he's so trusted, and he prepares, him and Ben and Rocco prepare on a level that you just don't see often in college football. And last year, when you had Jaden, you had Jalen, those are the best players on our team at the time. So how can we accent Gabe in a way that makes our offense the best way it can? And last year, Jaden and Jalen were the focal point of a lot of plays, and Ben was coming off a really good season, and Gabe is really good at it too. Like, at that point, was he as good as Jaden and Jalen? Like, what was the best thing for our offense? Like I've told you guys before, players, formations, plays is always the basis of our offense. It could be tight ends one year, receivers, breeze, running backs, however. So for us, he's earned the right to be trusted and get touches in critical moments, which he's been here in a third year now, and he knows, like, there's going to be moments like there was at Kansas State or Jaden Higgins last year against Iowa where, like, it's not going to be perfect and you're going to have to make a play, and it's hard to put that on someone's shoulders young. Like you look at the struggles Jalen Knoll had his sophomore year. He doesn't have the senior year if he doesn't have those. Same with Jaden. You know, he didn't have the great start to his junior year with that Ohio and the Iowa game, and you build through hard times, and that's how it is at Iowa State for everybody. For me, for Coach Campbell, and our players are no different. And Gabe's better for putting his hand down and getting punched in the face over and over again until he becomes one of the best blockers and, you know, one of the best route runners at his position also.
You talked about critical moments there. Rocco has been, nails for you guys in the fourth quarter in that moment in the last 2 years. What have you seen from him that allows him to rise to the moment in the big moments in the fourth quarter when you guys need a game-winning score, you need to shut the door against an opponent like you did against K-State in week 0?
Yeah, honestly, like Rocco I think he's a psychopath more than people think. Like even you watch the start of the K-State game, some of the stuff that was there, like that guy's better when all the air sucked out of the stadium, everybody can barely see and stand up, and it's about to puke, and that guy's just nails. And even going into last week, like we didn't take the shot to start the game because like it's cool or that's what we did before. It's like Rocco's better when we take a shot early and we put a lot on that guy's. The more we put on that guy's plate, the better he is. The easier we try to make it for him. For whatever reason, it's not, and he's better with his back against the wall. Like the guy's just nuts, and I love him, and he's great, and I die for him. And he's so trusted, and you always feel like you have a chance with that guy. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's football, we talk about golf and all the other stuff we play all off season. Like he wants to win everything in the worst way, and he's the ultimate competitor, and he's a guy that makes everyone around him better. He gives belief. He puts belief into everybody, into Campbell, into me, into his teammates. Like as long as there's a second on the clock, you feel like that kid's going to find a way to get something, to create something, and he's awesome.
You guys had 6 different players catch at least 2 passes, I think it was, against K-State, and then, 12 or 13 players caught passes against South Dakota. How is this offense kind of a different animal to prepare for than the one last season?
Yeah, I think the depth that we have and the health that we have, at least at this point in the season, has allowed us to be in all sorts of different personnels. Our running back room is as healthy as it's been. Our tight end room is as deep and healthy as it's been. Our receiver room is, we have some really, you guys have seen what Brett and Dom, and you haven't got to see how good Chase is, but that guy's unbelievable also. And we're deeper than we probably have been, so we could be a lot more multiple. We can play in the same formation in the play, but do it in 13 personnel and 11 personnel and 10 personnel. So when you do that, depending on the coverage, anybody could catch a different pass. So for us, like we don't have to have as many plays. We can play in different personnels, and with that, different people can catch different stuff. Doesn't matter if it's 2 back or 13 or 14 personnel. We can be in the same formation. So I think that's allowing us to get more people different touches and people in different roles.
Mine's kind of a piggyback to that. You got all the running backs that we see, and then we're seeing this depth at wide receiver. Is there a balance in keeping guys fresh and letting guys have a rhythm too, as far as the subbing goes? And I guess how does that evolve maybe over the next few weeks compared to what we've seen so far?
Yeah, I think early in games, our staff is, I can't say enough about Coach Pauly and what he does with those wideouts, and Landry and Clinton and Waters, and I really trust Coach Pauly to put the guys that he wants. And I never ask, even last year, like who's in the game at wideout or who's going to be in at each play. Like he's got a great feeling, can go do it. And Landry's really the same way. Like he's got, for being new, like has a really good feel for those backs and what runs we're going to call. And then in the second half, we can kind of pick and place a little bit more. But early in the game, at least in the first couple drives, we're strategic on what running backs might be in a little bit. And then it becomes more of a feel thing and a trust thing and who's hot. And you watch Dylan Lee and how hard that guy runs. Like you feel like, it's top down between running backs, tight ends, and wideout. Like you have to bring your A game, or like one of those other guys is going to step in and give the guys a spark. So if you don't, then you might lose your turn. So I think it just elevates everybody. Even last game, like Coach Pauly called the game in the fourth quarter and we went 2 for 2. Like that guy's unbelievable. So we got depth on our staff just like we do on the team, and we're lucky to have the people that we have here.